This is the 150th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. President Abraham Lincoln, rather a short speech. I mean, he apparently wrote it on the back of an envelope. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war. Does this sound like it could have been written yesterday? I mean, actually, to compare what's going on now, I suppose, to the Civil War is to really minimize the Civil War. But now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus so far nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we shall take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. That's it. That's the whole speech. And what do we have today? If you look at a map of the states that have decided to take federal money for expanding Medicaid, and you look at a map of the states that have chosen not to, it almost looks like the old Confederacy. It's really remarkable. Here's a messaging thing that I would like to get out to any Democratic politician who may be listening, and I know some of the Democratic politicians' staff members listen to this program. And I know that they listen to it over at the White House, probably just to wait to see if what kind of subversive stuff is he going to say today. Anyway, here is the way to message this. And every Democrat who is running for office in 2014, this is how to message this. You say to the people of the state of fill in the blank, the state, a state like Michigan that is not taking the federal Medicaid money. You run an ad saying, you are a taxpayer. You have been paying federal taxes to the federal government for years and years and years, and the federal government would like to return some of your tax dollars to you and to your fellow workers in the state of Michigan in the form of health care by expanding Medicaid. But your Republican governor, Rick Snyder, has said he does not want you to get your tax dollars back. He wants Washington to keep the tax dollars from Michigan rather than sending them back to the state. And so also says Joe Blow, my Republican opponent. Joe doesn't think that you should get your tax dollars back either because it's in the form of health care. God forbid people should have health insurance. So vote for me, the Democrat, because I am strongly committed that this state, in this case Michigan, that Michigan should get back from the federal government the federal tax dollars that we're sending to them every year, and that we should use that and use that money to expand Medicaid. In other words, put it in the frame of let's just get our own money back. Remember how effective Ronald Reagan was with, promoting his tax breaks? It's your money. Well, where do you think this money that is funding the Medicare expansion or Medicaid expansion is coming from? It's coming from tax dollars. It's your money. And Scott Walker and Rick Snyder and Bobby Jindal and all these crazed Republicans, they don't want the people in their states to have their own money back. Because, gee, if they get health insurance, they might think President Obama did something nice for them. And we can't have that. That would be a disaster. So, Democrats, take a cue from Ronald Reagan. Here's your messaging. It's your money. You sent it to Washington, D.C. The President of the United States wants to send that money back to you in the form of cheap health insurance. And the Republicans in your state are blocking that. Throw the bums out.